This camera is probably the cheapest Fujifilm camera with a rangefinder style and interchangeable lenses you can get at the time we are speaking. Of course, it is not a real rangefinder style camera as you only get the electronic viewfinder in this Fujifilm X-E1 as opposed to the hybrid optical viewfinder on the Fujifilm X Pro 1. But you have an improved EV resolution from its brother, the X Pro 1. I was confused why in some countries this camera is sold second-hand almost at the same cost as the X Pro 1 or even the original X100. When it was first released in 2012, this camera received many positive responses. It is equipped with the first generation of the X trans sensor, which you can only find on three cameras, the X Pro 1, XM1, and this X-E1. Some people prefer this first generation X trans sensor and regard it as the closest film look sensor, but I think that is a matter of preference. Some people even prefer this X-E1 over the X Pro 1. I read a user review written in 2017. He used this camera as an alternative to his favorite film camera like a CL, attaching a 40mm zoom-cron onto this X-E1. It is always interesting to see how people have their personal stories about the camera that they use. I think the form factor is key here. The camera is quite small, though it is still bigger than the Olympus EM5. But if you are looking for a budget rangefinder style digital camera, you might want to consider this X-E1. Some people hate this camera for its poor focus peaking with only white color and no other options. But we forget that before there was any focus peaking technology, photographers were used to shooting without it or any other innovation in camera manufacturing. If you are looking for a budget camera, I think we need to minimize our expectations and stop comparing them with the latest technology in cameras, many of which we don't really need. I mean, obviously we love to have them, but we can still enjoy photography without them. I have had this camera for almost a year. I haven't really featured this camera much on this channel, as this channel is mainly exploring film look recipes on non-Fujifilm cameras. Since Fujifilm is the foremost camera manufacturer in terms of film look recipes, I need to understand the idea behind the settings of Fujifilm cameras. This X-E1 became my choice for a couple of reasons. First, I like rangefinder style cameras. There are some budget rangefinder style options from camera manufacturers like the Sony Alpha 6000 series or Lumix GX85 or Olympus Pen F, which is still crazy expensive, and this Fujifilm X-E1. But in my country, somehow this Fujifilm X-E1 is the cheapest options I can get. Luckily, it is Fujifilm, which is known for its film look recipes. You know, I like doing experiments. The second reason is the interchangeable lens. I bought this X-E1 body only. I got this camera for around $150. Initially, I attached my vintage Russian Industar 50 f3.5 with an adapter to this camera. Since this X-E1 is an APS-C sensor camera, you get that a 1.5 crop factor equivalent to 75mm, which is a pain in the ass to shoot on low shutter speed. I prefer wide lenses. And then I decided to pick up this 7 Artisans 35mm f1.2. I know people are complaining about focus peaking on this camera, so ideally you want to attach autofocus lenses as opposed to manual lenses. But I like both shooting on manual as well as auto. I want to get that slow experience using manual lenses, picking my subject carefully. I give myself budget-wise, so I opted first for this 7 Artisan 35mm f1.2. It would be interesting to have a Leica Elmarit 28mm adapted to this camera. Another reason is this X-E1 is equipped with the first generation of the X-Trans sensor. Typically, if you have the first generation of a sensor in a camera, it might have some flaws, but those flaws will be the inherent characteristics that people would miss as time goes by. Maybe that is the reason why in some countries this X-E1 still has a higher price tag. People miss the first generation of X-Trans sensor. Maybe it's also because Fujifilm is famous for developing film look on digital cameras that make every sensor that they develop special. I don't think we hear often enough that people miss the first generation or any specific sensor of a camera manufacturer for its specific looks. Since this is the first generation, the film simulation on this X-E1 are limited. People are busy developing their own film look recipes on this camera, but have you ever tried the film simulation that is included in this camera? Well, the basic assumption is if this is the first generation X-Trans sensor, the chance is Fujifilm really put a lot of work into getting this camera with all of the film simulation right. And I think the rest, which is the subsequent X-Trans sensor generations, is only an improvement. So this is their very first attempt to get it done as close as they can. And I think that's what makes the first generation X-Trans sensor special. Provia, which is the standard film simulation, is probably my favorite right now. If you want more top secret hacks and tricks to transform your ancient cameras into Hollywood superstars, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to join me on this photographic roller coaster. Until next time, keep snapping and keep it budget tight. Au revoir.